Middle-class consumers around the world, including in countries with no tradition of eating noodles, are turning to instant noodles in droves, according to a report in The Guardian.
면식 문화에 익숙하지 않은 나라를 포함한 세계 각국의 중산층이 최근 인스턴트 라면을 다량 소비하고 있다는 외신 보도가 나왔습니다. Wow, okay, so it's common sense for countries that like noodles
Sure.
to like ramen, but
Right.
even countries that have no tradition of eating noodles, they still like ramen too.
Right. So some of the this report out of the Guardian, they were referencing stats from the Osaka-based World Instant Noodle Association. So I went on their website, and some of the numbers that the Guardian was reporting was actually different from what's updated on this website.
I see.
So, but also like you can still get the main message where countries with a long history of eating noodles. So China and Hong Kong were number one. Indonesia was two. Vietnam was 3. And then you had Japan in 5th. But who was 4th and who was 6th? That's the interesting part. India was 4th and the U.S. 6th.
India is rice-based and the US is more sort of bread-based.
Yeah, wheat, sure.
Yeah, and yet instant noodles is very popular
Right,
there now.
and which is really interesting because like this was like a number of years ago. I'd say over 10 years ago. I was back in Canada and I was in Toronto and I was in a 편의점 and there was some Korean ramyeon there and I was like, oh, look at this, and I was like, oh, I think I asked the person who worked there, is this really popular? And the worker told me, oh yeah, like a lot of Indian people buy it. And it was like, I think it was one of the Korean brands, right? It was
Right.
Korean ramyeon. So
Because in India, normally they have naan and they
Sure.
have their rice, but wow, instant noodles.
instant noodles are
as well now.
right. So
yeah.
I wasn't, because I had anecdotal evidence that Indian people are really into ramyeon, and this was a number of years ago.
That's interesting.
And
Yeah.
Korea is currently ranked 8th on this list on the WINA website. That's where I got this information from. This was updated on May 23rd.
네. 그 오사카에 있는 World Instant Noodles Association에서 이렇게 전 세계 그 instant noodles가 얼마나 인기인지 이걸 조사를 해본 것인데요. 거기에는 미국이라든지 인도처럼 면식 문화에 익숙하지 않은 나라들도 포함이 되어 있었다. 이런 뜻이 되겠고요. 이걸 영어로는 countries with no tradition of eating noodles 이렇게 표현을 해봤습니다.
Another interesting thing is some big Japanese instant noodle companies, Nissin Foods, that's the biggest one. They call that the instant noodle giant, and one of its rivals. They've recently announced construction of production facilities in the U.S. and Mexico. They're going to be opening up new facilities by 2025 to meet this soaring demand.
Oh wow, Mexico as well.
Mexico as well, right? Well, production-wise, right? So
Right.
it's cheaper to produce there than it is in China now.
Got it. Well, a lot of consumers are turning to instant noodles.
Sure. So when we say you turn to something, it has the nuance that you're doing something or buying something or eating something that's maybe less desirable than something else, but you're doing it out of necessity. So either you don't have as much money at the moment, so you're going to go for a cheaper alternative, or maybe there's just a lack of options at the moment, maybe because there's not enough supply of something, for example. So, okay, well, I guess I have to do this. I have to buy this now.
turn to라는 것 자체는요, turn이 들어가 있잖아요. 그래서 고개를 돌려서 이쪽에 관심을 보이는 게 될 수도 있겠지만 사실 여기서는 의지를 한다라는 느낌까지 같이 들어 있습니다. 그래서 지금 레이 선생님이 살짝 예로 든 게 이제는 내가 어쩔 수 없이 이것에 의존한다라고 할 때도 I have to turn to something.
It's not your first choice.
그러니까 좀 그 최우 선책은 아니지만 차선책 정도일 때 이런 표현을 쓸 수도 있겠고 여기서는 지금 이제 많은 사람들이 they are turning to instant noodles. 그러면 이제 이런 라면을 좋아한다, 많이 소비한다라고 볼 수 있겠죠. What about in droves?
It's when a lot of people are doing something. Many people are doing something.
In droves라는 이 하나의 표현이요. 굉장히 많이들 이렇게 때를 지어서 라는 뜻이 있습니다.
The phrase you usually see is tourists or people, they flock somewhere in droves. So, in the summertime, people who like beaches,
Yeah.
they flock to the beaches in droves. Winter's coming.
Yeah.
So those winter sports enthusiasts like skiers and snowboarders, they will soon be flocking to resorts all
In
around the
droves,
world,
yeah.
right? In droves. You know, Gangwon-do is going to have people going there in droves
Absolutely,
soon to
yeah.
enjoy the skiing.
맞습니다. 많이들 이렇게 같이 때를 지어서 뭐 스키장을 간다든지 여름에는 뭐 해변에 간다든지 그러겠죠. 그래서 flock in droves, go somewhere in droves 이렇게 쓸 수 있고요. 이 헤드라인에서는요. Consumers are turning to instant noodles in droves 이렇게 얘기를 하고 있습니다. 때를 지어서 많이 이렇게 한다라는 의미가 되겠죠.
Are you a big instant noodle
No, I'm
fanatic?
not. No, are you?
No.
Well, we're the exception.
Yeah,
then.
we're the exception, right, right.
All right. Well, here's the headline one more time. Middle-class consumers around the world, including in countries with no tradition of eating noodles, are turning to instant noodles in droves, according to a report in The Guardian. Let's take a break.